You are listening to the FivesSquared podcast, the podcast where we bring you tips for your business and your life. Our goal is to leave you smarter with ideas, wisdom, tools, and entertained. The FivesSquared podcast is produced weekly for your enrichment. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter at FivesSquared and Facebook. All the links are in the show notes. Now let's get started with your host, business consultant, executive coach, and founder of FivesSquared, Tim Fives.
Out of their ruts and out of their habits and how to think differently is very empowering to people, and that's what we do. And I'm thrilled to have fantastic client base that we're working with. It's growing every day, but we love it. So that's the direction we're going to be moving forward, and we put a lot of resources into that past couple months. We're sponsoring some TV shows locally here, so look for that. I'll give you some more information as those come out. We've got a new ad coming out as well, and then we've retooled a lot of our marketing and information that we're doing to this, because I think it adds a lot more value and it fits our core mission of helping people and giving back a lot better than the consulting does. I mean, the consulting is good to go in and help companies do that, but the frustration has always been for me is like, okay, we go in and do the work, we leave, and then they're calling us back and saying, well, how to do this again? And we sat down and thought in the think tank we have here and said, well, why don't we tell and teach people how to do the jobs? Because that's A, it's more valuable, and B, it's valuable to them, it's valuable to us. We get a lot more, we're a lot more enthusiastic about it and passionate about it, and so that's what we're going to do. So the first thing that I wanted to chat, I appreciate the allowing me to go on the preamble, I guess. But the first thing I wanted to go through, because this is the first of this new series that I'm putting on, is what I've quickly called the habit of successful people, is looking at and doing a tremendous amount of research, but also looking at the clientele we have and saying, what makes somebody successful? And then how can we give that to other people? I mean, at the end of the day, it's what we're all searching about. And the first thing we need to do is define success. And society, I think, has done us a great disservice on what success is. Success in society is more money, more toys, right? And I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, I want an Austin Martin Vanquish as much as the next guy. I mean, everybody wants a Vanquish, right? But whatever, But the fact of the matter is, success is balance, right? When we start to look at our lives and our families, our wives, our significant others, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, whatever it is, our husbands, time with the family, time with the kids, time for society and giving back. And I think that's where our society's done us a great disservice. If you watch the media, right? Because it's all about making money. It's all about prestige and influence. And that's not really success. It's a part of it and can be a part of it, but that doesn't always lead to fulfillment. And we can always look back at the dozens of rich people we know that are absolutely miserable because they're, divorced, or their kids don't talk to them or love them or whatever. So when I define success, and this is important, success is a balanced life. Success, if balanced life doesn't fit, success is fulfillment, right? Because fulfillment is something tangible, something that you feel, something that you're like, yep, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, I'm doing what I was put on God's green earth to do, and I love it, and I love getting up every morning, and I love going to my job, and I love going to the meetings afterwards, and I love going to softball practice for my kids, or whatever it is, soccer practice, going to the games and things. So that's the framework of success we're dealing with. It could be I have a successful marriage, I have, fantastic friends, I have whatever that is, but it leads to that level of fulfillment. And in that, and we'll talk about this later on, but, a lot of that comes into giving back and humility and things, and we'll cover all that. But I wanted to start with one of the basic premises of what I've seen that's required to be successful. And the first thing, and we're going to chat about this today, is the open mind. Now, I've had the pleasure of coaching, quite a few people, and I've mentored kids, and kids, I call them kids, but younger professionals in throughout the past dozen years or so, and I sat down and I was actually we're working on a new offering right now, and I was brainstorming, kind of compelled me to start the podcast back up today because I wanted to get this out to you. But the fundamental thing is an open mind. I'm gonna let that sink in, and it comes back to understanding yourself to a point that you may not know everything. And this backs into one of the four principles of great leaders, or any leaders, is humility. And unless we have humility, we can't open our mind, right? Because if you think about it, the opposite of humility is arrogance. And if we're arrogant in that space, then we think we have all the answers. And it's a real dichotomy between those two things. And one of the things that I do when I look for people that I coach, because I don't take on as many as I can take on for the sake of taking them on. I look at people that I think I'm best suited to help, right? So, and teach, and that they can learn, and I can learn from them and go on their journey with them. But the fact is, there's some people that come in and, that I've worked with over the years that, really have a tough time accepting new ideas. Now, to have an open mind, what do you have to have? You have to have the humility that we just talked about, the ability to realize that there's more to life and there's more things out there that are unknown to us than known. And my coach told me, he's like, what we are in this world, and especially myself, and he knows me pretty well, he's like, you're a pathfinder for these people. You're the guy that's going to give them the path forward and teach them how to go down that path. And there's a big difference in what we do when we're coaching versus, say, consulting. Consulting is more telling, right? You're going to pay somebody to come in to fix a problem. They fix a problem, they leave, and that's fine. I'm not being critical of consulting. We still do it, and I love the big, hard, ugly jobs that we get there because those are mentally challenging for us, for myself personally as well. But coaching really comes down to teaching and getting people to open their minds so that they can make better decisions. I had a great lunch with a fellow colleague of mine today, and he was talking to his priest, and he was saying, he's like, what we do is we help people make better decisions. At the end of the day, that's it. Sure, we hold people accountable, and we put plans and tools and teach them, and there's a whole bunch. But at the end of the day, if you boil it down to one sentence, we help people make better decisions. Think about that. Doesn't everybody want to make better decisions? So if you want to make better decisions about your business, what do you need? You need to have an open mind to realize that the decisions you were making in the past aren't the right ones. So, or maybe they were the right ones at the time. I don't know. But again, what we're doing is adding perspective. We're adding experience and perspective and a method to helping people be successful. And the first one of those is having an open mind. All right, so let's talk about having an open mind. What does that mean? It means you're willing to learn. You're willing to challenge, not just learn, but you're also willing to challenge the tightly held beliefs that you already have. Now, we've been programmed since childhood with certain beliefs. And they're not right or wrong, and I'm not going to go back and blame my parents because they put a belief in my head that was wrong. I mean, our parents generally do the best they can, and they have their set of limiting beliefs, and sometimes they get passed down. It's kind of human nature. But successful people are willing to take those limiting beliefs and throw them out the door and replace them with new beliefs. So a couple examples of this. When I'm helping people do a career change, as an example, one of the things that I tell them is and I believe this, and it's not just words because I've witnessed it, and not only have I witnessed it, I've gone through this, right? That people want to help other people. It is an unmutable truth in our genetic code, or whatever you want to call it, that people want to help other people. And our job when we're doing career change is to give those people something that they can help us with. So just to take this example to the end, you don't ask for a job for somebody you meet on the street or in a networking event because it makes them uncomfortable. They can't help you if they don't have a job to give you. But what you can ask them for is names of people who might be interested in expanding your network. Right? Because that's something, I got 10 people, I can tell you right now, here, I'll make these introductions. That's something that people can do. And when you give something to people that they can help you with, they will bend over backwards to help you. It's just a fact of life. But we get in our heads that people don't want to help, or we're too scared to help, or well, I asked for help once and no one helped me, so therefore no one did. And then we hold on to that as a belief in our psyche that says, well, no one wants to help me. I got to do everything on my own. And what we haven't realized is that we just haven't asked the right questions for people to help us. So, these tightly held beliefs are then start to drive our habits and our behaviors and things that we do, and defines kind of who we are. So when I look at successful people or people that have gone from mediocrity to success, they have the open mind. They're willing to throw out those beliefs. They're willing to say, okay, you know what, I'm not getting it done, or I'm not getting it done enough. And I have a great case study that we're working with people. I'm working with a gentleman now that he's like, all right, tell me what I need to how I need to think. Right? He just opened up. He's like, this is great. This is exactly what I need. I need to eliminate those thought barriers so that I can see the world differently, and that's what you're teaching. That's what you're doing. And his business has doubled in the past 6 weeks. And I haven't really done anything other than help him see his business in a different light, helped him show him that he is successful and he's going to continue to be successful, and gave him some tools and some habits. When I say tools, this is not just a spreadsheet with numbers on it. It's a tool set, if you will, a toolkit to be successful. And he's just consumed it. They're fantastic sessions when we meet, because he's willing to think and grow. Now, and that's really the best, because when we do that, and when I do that, I'm growing with him. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. You should do that. That's a great idea, because now you got the power of two minds thinking on problems instead of one, and you're both open to it, and now great things start coming out of it. And that's it. Now, conversely, we have others that come in and they fight you tooth and nail. Well, I've done that. I don't want to do that again. I don't like this. This is why I suck. This is it. And so now your barrier to overcoming that, to kind of the next stage, if you will, is far greater, because you gotta start to get them to see some wins and get them to focus on what's important and drive forward. But another quick story I'll tell. I had the privilege of working with one of my mentors at one of the local hospitals, and we're doing some leadership training. And he said something that just struck me, and I think it's so true. And as most of you know that listen to this, I've in the past have done an Ironman, and when you're working out and training, you're either getting faster and stronger, or you're getting weaker and slower. It's a fact of life. You're either focused on a goal, or you're backing off your fitness. And the same thing is true with our minds. Either we're working our minds and getting smarter, or we're not working our minds and we're getting dumber. And so this is a challenge to everybody. Who here that's listening to this is investing in their minds? Who is exercising their minds to get smarter? So think about that. You may have had 120 IQ at one point, but that was at a fixed point in time. But now you got to wonder, if you go back and take that same test and you haven't exercised your mind in 10 years, are you still at a 120? Probably not. That's an interesting concept. I mean, if we can't be getting smarter and better at our trade, then what the hell is the point of life, right? So it just makes sense. And that's where having an open mind comes into play. So when we think about this in our daily lives, there's one of the things that you have to have an open mind is the trait of humility. And humility is the ability really to say, I don't know everything. And I'm okay with not knowing that, but I'm also not okay with not figuring stuff out, right? I'm going to go figure it out. I'm going to go ask the best people I know to get smarter. I'm going to pick up a book. I'm going to go read some trade magazines. I'm going to go do whatever. I'm going to Google the solution. But that's really the thing that opens successful people up. And if you look at Ford and you look at Carnegie and you look at these people, and I'll take Carnegie because he was called the steel genius of the world or whatever. He was, he ran the steel companies. He wasn't the smartest guy in the room, but he also had the humility to realize that, and he had the ability to open his mind to other new ideas to come in and drive his companies forward, and leverage other people that supplemented his weaknesses with strengths and learn from them. Now, you fast forward 100 years or so to Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, and they've kind of done the same thing. They're kind of like, yeah, they had a gruff exterior. Yeah, they had a level of arrogance. But when they were going through their process of developing things, they had a level of humility to go figure it out, to open their minds to something new and different. They didn't get constrained with, oh, it can't be done. Can't turn around Apple. No, they had a vision, they had passion. We'll talk about those traits in another podcast, but they had the ability to open the mind and open the mind of the people they worked with to create something phenomenal. So I'll leave you with this for this podcast. When we talk about the open mind, think about the times when you don't have it, right? Think about, and there's a couple of things that I think about is, we're all human, so think about the person when you're out at lunch or at a networking event or an after-hours party that drives you insane because you think he's a jerk or she's a jerk. But take that as an opportunity to learn. Open your mind and be like, all right, let me just listen. You may not agree with them. I'm not asking you to agree with them. I'm just saying open your mind and be receptive to what they're saying. And maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn something about them. Maybe you'll get a different perspective about them. Maybe you have a different appreciation. Maybe you'll come out with the same conclusion that it's still jerks, but okay, maybe not as big a jerk as they were. But maybe they have something to teach us. Everybody has something to teach everyone else. That I believe. You can learn from everybody. So take the opportunity in those kind of high emotional states to change your emotional state, to say, like, I'm going to decide to listen to what this person has to say. Now, that's an exercise to start to change how you're thinking, how you're opening your mind, right? Because if you can do it in those situations, you can do it in pretty much any situation. Going into a meeting. All right, well, let me not go into a meeting thinking I have all the answers. How many of us have done that in the past? How many times have we gone into a meeting thinking we had all the answers to a problem, only to overlook probably a better solution that somebody else had? And worse than that, we may have shut them down, shut their genius down and stifled them from contributing because we didn't have an open mind to say, all right, who else has an idea in here? Just some food for thought. Until next time, this is Tim Fives with FivesSquared, your podcast. We'll be back next week with another one. I hope you have a wonderful week, and peace out.